Hello and welcome to Dice Punks, a tabletop role-playing podcast where we focus on playing full campaigns in less well-known systems. This week, the Friends of the Frontispiece consider a gang invitation and perhaps make some longer-term plans. Hello and welcome. I'm Adam, your friendly neighborhood game master, and joining me are...
Hello, I'm Drew, and I'll be playing Cato Burke, a.k.a. Hecate, a.k.a. Fixer, who's maybe about to join a gang.
Hello, I'm Robin, and I'll be playing Callisto Armitage, which is the revenant to an increasingly longer list.
Hi, I'm Dez, and I will be playing Luke Byrne, allegedly, who is currently orthogonal to all recording media.
And hello, my name is Nick, and I will be playing Ing, an android drone operator, also perhaps soon to be involved in said gang. My real name is N-I-K, because you can't see me.
Oh boy. Thank you, players. I think we needn't dwell on it. Let's get right into it with our recap of last time, this time courtesy of Ing.
Right, so here's what happened. After the protest, it was time to lay low. There was the explosion, my own relapse into my original programming, and Lou was attacked and killed. God, that must have been an emotional roller coaster for Cal. That must be why she called in the new girl, Toma. They cryptically mentioned Revenant a couple of times, so Cal must suspect that Revenant had something to do with Tupper's death, and now they're tracking him down together. Not sure why she didn't ask us for help, but I guess she's trying to keep us at a distance to keep us safe. Not gonna work, Cal. When we stop Revenant, it's gonna be together as a family. Anyway, that's why I invited the gang along to introduce myself to Dev. Dev runs a nightclub, with ties to both the android rights movement and to the android gang known as Law Zero. The convo went well enough, and Dev suggested that we might have some work to do to advance the cause. I want that too, but I'm savvy enough now to know that they might try to use me to whitewash Law Zero's image, or could even use me to take the fall for something that I want nothing to do with. I will not be used. I'm not a tool. I'm not a thing. I'm no one's weapon. I don't really know who or what I am yet. Just that I'm become Ing, and that I'll defend my right to be a verb and not a noun, even if I have to defend that right against other androids. In any case, I fear that we won't have much time to catch our metaphorical breath. Byrne is in the process of sorting out some state-level spyware that was on Vector Ramirez's computer at the police department. So, I have a feeling that this is just the eye of the storm, not the end of it. Time will tell.
Very well done, and thank you. We do pick up right there in the early afternoon of Friday, the 7th of February, 2020, in the back room of the Frontispiece, where most of the Frontispiece Four and friends are present. Apatia has gone to do some maintenance on all of her chrome. But we pick up with Tama having announced that she's in and asking what the plan was. I leave it up to you, I suppose, how much we want to, have the details on Mike of exactly what Tama is told here or hashing out said plan. But the rest of the day after that, as well as an indeterminate amount of time from there, is yours to do. plan, prepare, get back to your normal, occupations. One of you runs a business that's currently closed during business hours. So,
Shit,
you know,
we should probably open the shop at some point.
there's a few directions you could go, and I leave it very largely up to you all, at least for now.
For now.
So I'm feeling a little protective of Ing, but I also think we should join a gang. In summary.
I've already joined a conspiracy. What's the difference between a conspiracy and a gang, would you say, Kato?
Crime record.
Usually. Yeah, that too.
So if I got me and K and B jackets, then we'd upgrade.
Pretty much, yeah. Look, I have feelings on the subject, and I feel like we can use all the help we can get, but this is sort of an Ing question. We're not going to let him use you, but it's up to you whether you want to come within a country mile of people who might want to do that.
Yeah, I'm in. I don't want to be used. I won't be used, but the only way forward is to get some more information and perhaps get involved to the extent that we can tolerate.
Keep your friends close. Keep your well-armed acquaintances somewhat less close. Maybe get some cool fucking jackets.
Yeah.
Bronwyn has been smiling during all of this, and she says, I think I want a scorpion on the back of mine.
I do horns in the general direction of Bronwyn.
I start spamming her with images of scorpions, with each one followed by a question mark.
She does not react right now. But Tama blinks a couple times and goes, all right, so the plan is to join Law Zero? Or is that step one? I guess I'm looking for big picture currently. I'm not opposed, you understand. I just want to understand. You understand?
I do understand. I mean, insofar as any of us do. The thing is, the big picture is a little bit hard to grasp. I'll defer to Cal on this one, but I think an important step is figuring out who exactly we're up against. Because I think we're sort of on the assumption that it's like everyone.
There's a fair amount of fuckery afoot, but most of it seems to point toward one or more, possibly many, of cartel-related factions.
I was afraid you were going to say that, but I'm also excited that that's what you said. I think there might be something a little bit wrong with my brain, but I've known that for a while.
Wrong how?
Oh, I don't stay out of danger. I am, I guess you could call it a little bit of an adrenaline junkie. I like to think that I've channeled it into, activism in a constructive way, but, you don't do violence in broad daylight to a IMX security drone if you don't get a thrill out of it, I guess.
I appreciate the skill set as well as the self-awareness, but this might be a good time to mention our no heroic deaths policy.
Fuck. Well, I haven't died yet. That's got to be something, right?
That's way more than nothing, yeah.
Well, I guess the thing I was actually trying to wend my way toward is if it goes way high, do we have specific cartel members that we're
That's
thinking
what
of
we're
fucking
trying
with?
to figure out.
All right. Well, I guess then information gathering is step one.
You don't have to say more than you want to say, but my understanding is Cal has a list.
I do. I'm still gathering information of how high up the chain goes, but I would recommend that we target Max Broderick next, perhaps Sean Howard. Definitely need to stymie IMX's control over the region.
Tama nods, but does raise her hand while you're talking to be recognized next, and sort of looks a little abashed about it. But she says, just so I'm clear, what constitutes a link in this chain? How closely involved, how provably culpable does something need to be to be the next thing up
I will turn to Cal and raise an eyebrow at that.
Adam, we've covered this before. However, it has been a while, so I am struggling to remember.
Sure.
So there was, I believe Goliath was previously the contract winner that IMX wanted. So Cal's list is focused more on Goliath, the Barlow boys, and that connection to keeping Lou Tupper and his cronies in power. I forget the exact link that Max Broderick would have in this.
Yeah, because he is the like in your Cal's understanding of his place here, he is like the I guess you might call it like regional manager for the Goliath, etc. You know, like mostly through Goliath, but clearly not like directly tied to them. He is how instructions and threats and whatnot are relayed, as well as sort of their spin doctor on the ground. Well, I guess I'll let you decide first what precisely you will tell the people in the room with you, and then we'll go from there.
It started as figuring out who allowed Lou Tupper and his cronies to stay in power after Maddie, and kind of spun out from there. But effectively, as I understand it, Goliath had the PSS contract. IMX wanted it. And Max Broderick is sort of their mouthpiece here on the station. A lot of the people that Lou Tupper recruited were friends of the Barlow boys. They're still back on Earth, but they appeared on a lot of the individuals whom I already dealt with.
Thomas sort of nods slowly, and she says, okay, so this isn't then turning into declare war on the whole cartel so much as it is, one of its member states, if you will, and their flunkies on the ground.
Yes. I might be hard-headed, but I'm not foolish enough to go after the whole cartel. But if we can take out a few arms of their power, shorten their reach, essentially hamstring them, then that would be a victory in my books.
Do we have reason to believe that they'll let it stop there? Or are we flirting with a violation of the no heroic deaths policy here?
The list was always flirting with that kid.
I get a faraway look on my face and then shrug with an audible
Well,
servo whir.
Well, at least, I say with a significant look to Cal, it would now be flirting with heroic, at least.
Bronwyn speaks up briefly and says, this has, in the last few minutes, gotten a fair bit bigger than I expected it to, which is both exciting and frightening. I'm not out, I'm just worried.
Anyone who's here at this point, it's because we trust you, but that doesn't mean everyone in this room has to be willing to march into hell, I guess?
Please don't march into hell. I hear it's unpleasant and warm.
Well, as long as we're identifying the scope, Byrne, you were looking into the death of Hahi's father, right? And we'd suspected that maybe that has something to do with
at least a bit. I've gathered some limited information on it, and the obvious implication is that it is somehow related to the cartel corporations in some fashion, but that is neither certain nor fleshed out as to who did what to whom and when and why and how. The more relevant details of an investigation. it kind of got put onto the back burner because there were some things happening.
Yeah.
I think it's
Cannabis,
a good starting
it was.
point because they clearly wanted that technology, and that is one of the ways that the cartel jockeys amongst themselves. Contracts, munitions.
The odds that it's entirely unrelated seem near zero.
Near zero, indeed.
I mean, we could ask, once we join a gang, what cannabis may mean to them.
Yeah, brand new members of gangs are famously able to access full information.
Yes.
Well, they might be when you're one of them.
We're not pushing that immediately.
I didn't mean we were going to ask.
Right.
So I guess my hope is that the first several steps in will be tolerable or palatable even. I mean, Dev was floating that, my interests and theirs might align, at least for a while. If step one in joining the gang is to go and kill someone, well, it's a non-starter for me, but could be that we can do some good. And break some laws.
Adam, what do I know of Law Zero from PSS?
PSS's assessment of Law Zero is that they are especially dangerous and violent criminals because they are able to either change like the modular elements of their chassis or change chassis entirely to disappear, and because they do not have a lot of the limitations and vulnerabilities that baseline human beings and even augmented humans tend to have. So PSS's assessment of Law Zero is there is a whole gang of Terminators, T-800s out there, and they're coming for our blood at all times. That said, some more useful information is further down in the docket. PSS's assessment is that Law Zero is an organization that uses the sort of like politics around the android rights movement to recruit vulnerable and naive androids to do their dirty work for them. Now, what's interesting is dirty work in this case tends to be almost entirely limited to information and property theft. Law Zero really doesn't do much in the way of like vice, unless you count like running bars and clubs as fronts, and some people do, right? Because they like put on drag shows or like have bands in them that curse or whatever. But from your perspective, right, there isn't a lot of the like Al Capone stuff that we often associate with organized crime involved here. It is, a somewhat more limited portfolio, though, again, in PSS's estimation, Law Zero are unusually effective at both physical and digital larceny.
Mm-hmm.
Where do I sign up for lessons?
Fronts, you said.
I guess the Canny Valley tonight after they open.
Yeah.
Accusing him of fronts. Like, next they'll be accusing innocent campus bookstores. Fucking... No one trusts anyone these days.
Yeah, I definitely reiterate that to the group, though, marking the clear fear because they cannot adequately police the technology propaganda as such. Though I do make I give a meaningful look in Ing's direction as I cover the portion about them taking advantage of vulnerable androids for recruitment on dirty work such as information theft.
I know.
My question about signing up for lessons, to be clear, is very in character.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Interpreted as such.
Fair enough.
Extremely clear. You know what I think I can contribute here is something of a plan B. Like you said, if the first thing they ask you to do is something you don't want to do, if they're trying to see if you'll cross a line that you're not going to cross, then we might need to disappear for a while.
Ooh. Yeah, well, that's probably a good contingency to plan for regardless.
Now that you say it, yeah, I should have
There
already
are
been doing that.
so many reasons to disappear already.
I am nodding with a meaningful look on my face, as though deciding whether to act like I had in fact thought of this sooner, and I am also texting. The GM would like to know that I am texting the Fixer Network about the current status of safe houses, though I'm using code words for most of these things, of course.
Yeah. I have less access to information than usual due to the change in my setup for this recording session. But if you think you have a good role for that, I would appreciate being able to see how well you track this information down.
Absolutely.
I will start. I think pizza may be
Oh, yeah.
right. I will just start pointing at people around the room, going, I know you have a fake identity. Do you have a fake identity? Pointing at Kato.
Offline. Probably not a current one. Not one that, couldn't show up again without its own set of problems.
Okay. I point at Cal. Do you have a fake identity?
Aside from the obvious. No.
I go through the remainder of the room, checking to see who does or doesn't have fake IDs, and is willing to admit it to me.
Tama has a few, though her confidence in their fortitude to inspection varies. Bronwyn admits to having gotten one when she was 16 to be able to buy liquor. And hasn't really looked into or updated it since.
To start, please let me know the details at some point, and I can work with that.
She immediately starts tapping away on a tablet.
Cool, thank you.
Ing is the fake ID, and I think that you did it, but I think that you're working on its replacement, so let me know what I'm called. Because if I choose the name, then it's going to be a name that I would choose. So, how about it?
We'll talk.
I'm a lot of names deep, and if my papers are lacking, that's probably something you've been bothering me about, and I've been failing to be bothered enough.
Yes.
No time like the present to fix it.
The best time was about 4 years ago, but yes.
The second best time would have been a year ago, and followed by 2 or 3.
And exactly.
The fifth best time is
we
now. Yeah. Okay. Let's do it.
Good.
For what it's worth, Robin, I don't recall you having said.
I think I said beyond the one we know of.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good.
I waved you away.
Oh, okay, good.
All right, cool. So with that, sort of verified, I guess that's one list of things to sort of that's complete and look
that's
into.
me busy for the next several months.
Yeah. Otherwise, there seems to be consensus that, we're going to give, the thumbs up to Dev Random's proposition about working with, maybe joining Law Zero. That means heading back to the Canny Valley after it opens relatively late tonight.
Mm-hmm.
10 p.m. doors. So you have quite a chunk of the day here that I would be content to get just kind of what the intentions are, and we can handle them as necessary.
Yeah, I think I need to work on Plan D, where we all need to disappear.
Mm-hmm.
So I make overtures about, safe houses, places where the group, the increasingly large group, by the way, could lay low. I relent and give Byrne what Byrne would need to know in order to start the fake ID project for me and for everyone else. And at some point when everyone is doing their stuff, what that stuff is pending other players. Of course, I do open the shop.
Okay. These are things that can coexist for your part. I would like to get a role from you for, the, feelers to the Fixer Network to disappear if we need to. I seem to remember you, again, not having my normal setup, having a criminal underworld
I do.
specialty.
I do, yeah. So that's +3 to any of this.
Okay.
I also have gray market goods. This could plausibly be either, but let's call it criminal underworld.
Mm-hmm. And then presumably This would be, I guess, if you're leaning more into the social, like schmoozing kind of aspect, it could be cool. If you are, navigating webs of possibilities and, sort of very, cerebrally getting information and putting it together, I could allow clever.
Let's call it clever if that's cool, because
Yeah.
I think what I am doing is collating information and trying not to say too much, and taking hints and all of that. So my clever is +2. Criminal Underworld adds +3.
All right, so 2d6 + 5.
Good thing I had that modifier. 5 + 5 is 10.
All right. So you get this ball rolling, and I mean, you have fairly, as Grand Cross stuff goes, deep and wide roots in this kind of thing can spread. And it'll be an ongoing process, but you've got enough goodwill that it is, ball is rolling pretty well already. And we will probably treat this a little bit like, when something triggers the, GTFO scenario, we'll get related roll and then see how it goes. Otherwise, you open the store, you provide Burn with what they need. Excellent. Others afternoons.
I am starting on fake IDs.
Mm-hmm.
I suspect I've already gotten the sort of central database stuff for Ing going.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that means I will proceed with central database, since it's been a moment, with Cato.
Mm-hmm.
What would you like to be called?
That's a question I haven't thought about in a while. I don't know, something a bit mythological, perhaps?
You're already Hecate. Next.
Okay, something to do with the people of old who blew things up.
Ned, I see.
I'll do Ned. I love Ned. No king but me.
I'll let you know what surname you get when I've got it.
Appreciate it.
So for the listener in particular, the process involved here is, on the one hand, really simple, just adding entries to centralized databases. Getting in and out is sort of a known, if never particularly like casual process. The trick that Burn is dealing with here is making sure that patterns of access and record changes do not, sort of like draw any attention in and of themselves. There are actually a number of false positives on any given day in Grand Cross where totally legitimate IDs get flagged as actually fake by the algorithms that are tasked with that because of the like timing of their changes or updates. So in order to avoid drawing that kind of attention, there needs to be some like relatively careful timing and sort of misdirection in kind of making these entries. And that's actually what sort of like mandates most of the time. In the meantime, though, if I could get hacking and ghosting rolls from you for this particular one.
So that is 11 on the hacking, and I have +3 clever and +5. So that's a 19 on the hacking.
Pretty good, I dare say.
And that is boxcars on. So that is 1, that's a crit, 2, that's a 20.
Yeah.
On the ghosting.
The ghosting, they have not changed anything significant enough since the last time you were doing this. You have that part down to a science. Excellent.
I sure never was here.
Indeed. So that does take, some time. If there is something else that you want or need to get up to before the evening.
Just sort of on my own machine as I'm waiting for things to go through, sort of putting together biographical details for everyone.
Excellent. Yeah.
Also probably doing some light photo editing to backdate. Putting people into security footage.
Indeed. Yeah, no. makes an already convincing ID stand up that much better. And it doesn't take a stretch of the imagination to envision Byrne finding this relatively engaging and satisfying to do.
Art and crime.
Exactly.
And puzzles.
Together at last. Let's see. Ing, Cal?
Hey, Adam.
Mm-hmm.
What extent of contact information would I have, because they didn't take my phone? So what extent of contact information would I have for all of the former PSS officers?
That's a really good and interesting question. I feel like you do have, for a simple majority of your until just now and sometimes former before that coworkers, an email address or a phone number that are like probably still current. And for a smaller number within that, like maybe both, you were not extra specially friendly with folks, but there were practical reasons to want or need to, get in touch with people here and there. And you certainly haven't ever deleted information unless somebody like full on died, which was extremely rare and like almost never in the line of duty.
I pull up Bacon and start looking for matches.
Mm-hmm.
Going hunting for your colleagues.
If I still had my normal setup, I would actually have the document open on a separate screen that had previous PSS, previous findings for PSS on Bacon. And that wasn't that long ago, so those would still be there. I think those are probably the only current matches, but I do not remember off the top of my head which ones those were. But yeah, it hasn't been that long since the last time you looked into it, so I think that wouldn't have changed. There would have been two PSS officers on Bacon whose names I can go look up if I need to.
So I would call those and make plans to talk through all the PSS bullshit, and then also suggest that I've got a militia in progress that might be of interest to them, and plan to meet them at a specified date and place.
Which, I suppose, starting with, which date and place are you specifying?
Probably this afternoon if they're available, because I'm out of work and I'd like some cash.
And any ideas on where?
What place would make a bit of a splash and perhaps blemish on Sean Howard's name if they get publicly absconded with?
Excellent question. I mean, obviously the proximity of PSS HQ carries risks, but would genuinely be pretty disastrous for Sean Howard. Beyond that, public areas or high traffic student areas of GPOL's campus, student center, atrium of the main lecture building, those kinds of things would actually be pretty embarrassing as well.
So yes, I'll have one meet me at the coffee shop catty corner, or outside of the coffee shop catty corner to PSS headquarters, and then another at the student center.
All right. So yes, you propose to Josh Newman, who is on Bacon for running a protection racket on a local noodle stand, to meet you at the coffee shop near PSS HQ, and a little bit later in the day for Casey Sexton, who is on Bacon for being particularly abusive toward those detained, to meet you near the student center a little bit later on. Excuse me.
So
And
as soon as I get the sense of where they'll be and what time, I might keep my do I want to keep my nose clean on this one? I will alert Bacon as to their location and say confirmation, or I will bring them in myself.
Okay. I do want to kind of, as an in-between step, I know you have some bonuses toward social roles with law enforcement. But if I could get you to
Convince them to show.
roll a cool plus the relevant specialty and applicable bonuses to make sure that they, feel good showing up.
Okay. Would this be, I guess it would be Bounty Hunter would be the specialty, so +3.
Or is law enforcement a specialty, or is that like a talent? I guess Bounty Hunter actually, because that actually makes more sense.
Yeah. And I don't have like law enforcement. I have corporate security.
That was what I was thinking of. But yeah, I think you're right that Bounty Hunter is more, again, I don't have my usual setup, so I'm a little more hazy. But yes, Bounty Hunter. And then I know you have at least one thing that, increases your roles when dealing with law enforcement.
So it'll be Clever +3, Bounty Hunter +3, +1 for a cab. So +7 with advantage.
Damn.
Yeah, so 3d6, take the highest two, and then add your bonus.
Thankfully I did, because I rolled one of my dice was a 1. I got a 8 natural, and then I think I said +7, so that would be 15.
Okay. At the very least, both respond in the affirmative. Hopefully they'll carry through. Let's hear what Ing is getting up to, and then we can see how all that unfolds.
Yeah, not terribly much. I would like to price out how much it might cost to upgrade the CPU of Tran in particular. You'd mentioned before that Tran's CPU usage was higher than expected. Still not sure whether I actually have a child or not, but in case, I would like to allow that child to thrive and grow in the ways that it might be capable of.
What a good dad.
Yeah, So
absolutely.
Other than that, I would also like to, not leave behind my spiritual exploration, do some meditation, see how that goes, roll some dice if needed. And if there's still time left over before we fast forward and our illustrious Master of Worlds takes us into the future, then, I might look over Byrne's shoulder if Byrne will allow it to passively soak up some alternate means of communing with the spirits of machines.
All right. I suppose that last part is up to Byrne.
With the things that I am doing, Byrne will not.
Okay.
I tell you that I will let you know when I'm next working on your identity.
Fair enough. As for the research into the possibilities for expanding Tran's processing power, I mean, that's as deep a rabbit hole as you want it to be. But if you would make a clever robotics roll, then we can see how far down that rabbit hole you get in the time that you have.
Wonderful. All right. I rolled a 6 and a 4 for a total of 10 plus things. And the things were robotics. 3 and 3. Okay, so 16.
All right. So you are relatively plugged in, to the drone hardware, sort of news and field already, but you start looking into specific parts, that would be compatible and helpful, and you also, start looking at some prices on new and refurbished models, and you get a ways into it, and The thing about the collective is that they are honestly like pretty consumer state of the art.
Yeah.
They've not gotten outpaced by new stuff by much just yet.
Yeah.
That said, the options you have for computing power branch in two ways. The easy one is to expand memory, which is as simple as filling some empty expansion slots, but less dramatic, not exactly directly addressing the overage that you had detected.
Mm-hmm.
That is a little harder because it involves replacing an extant CPU.
Yeah, well, if it helps to guide things, another idea that occurs to me is maybe consulting with Byrne with regards to the ability to install some capacity to link with existing systems in a kind of Wi-Fi way, such that virtually they are able to kind of expand their consciousness into multiple networks on the station, taking them quasi in a dreamer direction, which I recognize is not a commercial thing. It's like a thinking outside the box. How can we make this strange to allow for growth?
The first step there toward giving Tran what is essentially distributed computing ability is the simplest, sort of like thing to start, but the lowest immediate sort of like return. So absolutely an option. There are some options that are more expensive, but would address the sort of immediate thing, which is when I had an N64, if you wanted to play Donkey Kong 64, you had to pull out part of the sort of like processing hardware and plug in an expanded one. This is sort of like a souped up version of that, where basically if Tran has the hardwired island equivalent of an empty PCI Express slot, you can put like a supplemental processing unit in that way, and it would essentially help to like, add extra processing threads. Mm-hmm. So a marginal improvement in computing, though the extra load is not that significant, so it would sort of like be on the scale of the observed phenomenon. But if we are translating it into mechanical terms, a new sort of like off the shelf unit that would be compatible and a meaningful upgrade would be around the equivalent of 4 cache.
Yeah.
Now, you may very well in the next few days have some cash coming in. Whether it's going to be 4 cache or not, you have no way of predicting. But we have been, because we've been moving through in-game time quite slowly, putting off addressing the sale of the sort of like skimmed information from your local panopticon that you've installed. So you may be able to afford that, but it is sort of like not a sure thing.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that it doesn't come to selling my hand.
That would be another option too, albeit, as you say, one that maybe is not the first choice.
Yeah.
Also, when you ask Byrne about this, I wave you off in Gorister's direction, because that's hardware shit.
Gorister, of course, not at work today. So he is not taking your calls.
Yep.
Gorister is having some extremely well-deserved time not at work.
But, come Monday, you're sure you can get some information from Gorister.
Fair. All right. Yeah, so that's all I've got before we fast forward.
All right. So, let's see. Cal, yes.
One other thing that I'm working on, if there is time for that in between the creative back formation of what people might have looked like and the infiltration and seeding of databases with useful false information, I would be trying to sort of continue to construct an attempt at like where to look next for Canopus stuff. Because that has been long neglected. Well,
yeah, it's been
probably about a week neglected.
In game, yeah, and then you've had even more immediate priorities for most of that time. But yeah, you can absolutely be, sort of while you're watching progress bars or like, waiting for windows to open or close. You can certainly
Compiling.
be just working on that. A straight clever roll, not too much writing on it.
So that is a 10.
Okay. Yeah, the work is ongoing. You are, sort of taking information that was in the Canopus file as well as publicly available and starting to organize it alongside information that was a little harder to turn up that you're sort of like still trawling through as it comes in. So far, most of what you've managed to ascertain is further either confirmation or like specification, of already known or guessed timeline details. But you are reasonably optimistic that, as this process goes on, you will gain more meaningful insights now that you have your attention back on it.
Yeah.
And then of course you do have some folks that you could potentially ask for, insider clarification if you hit a wall. Not that is necessarily your first recourse. So, with that stuff established, Cal, you have these, 2 places and times where these people will be. Mm-hmm. And you had said that you were going to alert, the sort of like hunter infrastructure to, hey, I know where these people are going to be and when. And you've noted that you are available to, do capture. For both of these, though, you do get a relatively quick response from Bacon that they can be essentially served their papers, by what you kind of take to be Bacon interns. Because they are in such public places, there is relatively low risk, and because their particular offenses are the subjects of lawsuits rather at this point than criminal accusations and charges, your involvement does not need to be more than maybe just scoping that they did show up and being on hand in case something goes particularly awry.
That's easy enough to do. And the problem with jumping away is that I've had more time to think this over, and it occurs to me that we could ostensibly make a scene with 3 different officers, which would have the benefit of having Sean Howard not bother me. So I might invite Tama along under the pretense of ensuring that 3 PSS officers are fairly publicly detained, though maybe not reference that I am one of them at this portion, because since we'll be watching the other 2 and providing, backup should the situation go sour.
Yeah, I mean, Tama is very down for, joining you on your hunter beat, for sure.
Fantastic. And we don't have to go into much detail outside of potentially when I break the news.
Tama is pretty gung-ho about working together. She even is not too disappointed about not going to these as Revenant. And seems to understand that you're there for like insurance, that nothing goes too sideways. And indeed, nothing does go too sideways. Both of these, kind of public servings are, marked by like angry swearing, but they're in public places that are relatively trafficked, and both of these former officers, know better than to get too out of pocket, because they know it will really only hurt their, now officially underway lawsuits. And so, if I remember the mechanics correctly, that is a tidy afternoon's 2 cash for you, for these particular fulfillments on bacon. I guess Tama is not going to bring anything up, but are you giving her a cut?
Yeah, I'll split it.
Okay. Yeah, so you'll get 1 cash and Tama will get 1 cash, and her excitement is almost overwhelming. Would be at home on a much younger woman, but is quite charming on her as well. And that'll get everybody to around about the time where you need to eat something and start thinking about heading to the Canny Valley. If, and I think everybody is on the page here, you are headed that way. I don't think anybody's sitting out.
I want to join a gang.
Noted.
Is Byrne coming in person?
Yes.
Ooh,
Hell yeah.
Byrne really wants to join a gang.
However, I'm going to look like someone different to each of the assembled artificial sensors.
Okay. I guess I haven't ever really thought about the exact limits of Laughing Kid where it applies to androids. I guess you wouldn't know either.
Yep.
So I'll make a decision and inform you as it becomes relevant to your knowledge. So a little bit before it would be time to head over there, Apatia will come back around the frontispiece. Let's say this is after Cato, you have closed up shop.
I've made apologies to anyone who came by when we were closed.
Mhm.
I told them they could have any digital Angela Davis text that they want with purchase.
You get some takers. You also get some slightly mystified looks.
If one of these kids reads her prison's obsolete, then it was a good day.
Mm-hmm. It wasn't like a hugely trafficked afternoon to begin with, but a good day's work. Well, a good half day's work, approximately. But yeah, after you've closed
A
out,
good half day's honest work.
a meaningful distinction.
I shake off the filth of that.
And so sometime after that, Apatia will come back by looking, a little bit more energetic than she had been, and inquire as to, what she missed. You can fill her in as much or as little as you decide to. But regardless, she is definitely on board to come back to the Canny Valley that evening. And as she says, get involved in robot crimes. Yeah, and then in relatively short order and in due time, all of the Frontispiece Four and friends have assembled to go try to join a gang.
Mm-hmm.
This being a Friday night, the way to the Canny Valley is fairly crowded. People are out and about, especially in university neighborhoods. It creates an atmosphere for sure. We haven't had that many group scenes at night since the auction at the beginning of the campaign. And so take just a moment to sort of try to evoke it, right? The mirror plates, sort of swivel to darken the interior of the station for night. You can see through, sort of the, they're not glass, but window, panes that the mirrors can close to cover, like something of a night sky. But you can also see the other parts of the cylinder lit up in halogen, fluorescent, neon, and LED. forming a sort of sky of its own. And in the near term, right, Selden District is close set. And so when everything is lit up, this is not too pronounced an effect, as there's no like one direction the light is coming from and shadows and alleys and stuff. But as it darkens, it does sort of start to feel like particularly kind of closed in, and you get the full university neighborhood experience of everything being like not quite in good repair. And a little bit sort of like youthful and salacious, especially as you close in on the sort of outer edge of Selden District, where Canny Valley is proximate to. And you pass by plenty of individuals and groups of college students who are away from their books and, trying to find something to eat, something to drink, something to smoke or shoot, recreation, usually social, not always, as well as those willing to provide it to them. It is an atmosphere, and it only thickens as you get close to the Canny Valley, though as you close in on that part of that block, certainly there is more clanking and less breathing in the crowd. And there is a line to get in with a rope that seems velvet, but turns out to be some sort of like layered mesh with some LEDs kind of embedded into it. It's like a classy, interesting effect for how cheap it probably actually was to make. And a industrial frame android in a very tight suit, standing at the rope, letting people in, checking IDs, turning away fully organic potential patrons, as you will hear in a slightly obviously digital voice. We're at capacity. Though the android, queuers are allowed to stay in the queue for when somebody comes out. As Ing, you in particular, get close to the Canny Valley, though, out of the crowd will emerge Mebby, who seems to have actually been watching for your group. And she will wave a hand in jaunty greeting, and say, in the way that androids can, loudly without sounding like she is raising her voice in a, organic way, just slightly peakier speakers, say, "Glad you came. Right this way." And lead you back towards the alleyway that you entered through earlier in the day, which, as I think I described last time, is not obvious from the street. It is, fairly well disguised as wall.
Inwardly, I'm a little disappointed that we didn't get checked by the bouncer, because the mesh top I'm wearing was selected to show off my mechanical parts.
Mm-hmm.
I realize only now that I'm peacocking just a little.
I love that.
Mm-hmm. Me too. Assuming everybody follows, the alleyway is actually lit this time, but with sort of very deliberately sort of like filtered orange light, like the type you might use on like a campground where you're trying not to blind somebody with a flashlight or something.
Mm-hmm.
But in sort of like long strips. So it still feels very dark, but you can see even with unaugmented vision. You go back up that wooden staircase, and Mebby does a complicated like multi-finger knock on the door that, judging by how fast it opens, was probably not actually a passcode so much as an affectation on her part. And the door opens, and there is Dev Random, though her LED faceplate is showing a somewhat pensive expression. And she says, "Oh, glad you could come. Glad everybody could come. Do come on in." And gestures you inside. Presumably, Ing is first at the door, due to being the one greeted by Mebby.
Hmm.
And it is similarly, dim and sort of deliberately organic and hospitable. The furniture hasn't been rearranged or anything, but other than Mebby, there is only one other figure in the room this time. It is neither of the androids Plexi or Mig that you encountered last time. This is actually probably a chassis that all of our players instantly recognize as being one of the bidders at the auction, dressed a little differently, but relaxing at one of the tables, with a glass of some kind of spirit, though the chassis does not have any immediately obvious mouth with which to drink it. The android is dressed in a relatively stylish and well-cut dark suit with a couple of red highlights and accessories. And the faceplate is just a blank, like chrome curved surface. Though the android's head does turn in the direction of the door when it opens.
I don't react.
I give a nod as I clock this android.
I probably don't actually recognize it as a bidder.
Mhm.
Fair enough.
I do. I don't react beyond smirking to myself because my suspicion was law 0 for this particular bidder. It's very much still got it smirk.
I probably have to work the least hard to be poker faced since I wasn't in the room for the auction.
Sure.
Exactly.
But I probably have some sense of the implication, if only from Cal's. I've become something of an expert of Cal's various smirks at this point.
Right.
Fair enough. Well, I know that it was a discussed topic, but I don't know how precise or fresh the ideas would be in those who weren't there as minds.
Yep.
I guess the only operative question is does anybody not enter?
I enter.
I enter.
Yeah, okay.
I enter.
Yeah, I
Very good.
enter.
Yeah.
Not last.
Apatia brings up the rear. It was Tama when you entered the alley, but Apatia hung back to say something very low and slightly mischievous to Tama, and then sort of gestured her ahead. And in short order, everybody is in the room, and when the door closes with everybody, including Mebby, inside, Dev says, "Glad you came. Welcome back to the Canny Valley." And I didn't really think that you'd garner so much interest so quickly, but when word worked its way up the chain, she is interrupted by the android that was in the room when you arrived. It was a sort of like smooth masculine voice, and he says, "Please, Dev, I can introduce myself. Joseph Chapek. Nice to meet you. I've heard some things about some of you, less about others, but I'm pleased to meet you. I would ask you to have a seat, but well, we haven't furnished this room with any chairs just yet, but gather round." And Dev's expression goes a little sour for a moment, and then she sort of moves to one side of where Joseph is situated.
Sorry, I did not catch the surname.
Chapek.
Is that a name I recognize?
I don't think so. Okay. I don't think so.
Okay.
If I have to correct myself later, apologies to Des, Byrne, and our listeners, but I don't think so. So, once, everybody makes themselves less uncomfortable, I guess.
I sit on the floor, unless the floor is sticky.
No, it doesn't seem like any particular revelry happens here. Although, unlike earlier in the day, you can hear very distantly sort of like the bass of the music in the club from here.
I go directly from standing to like sitting cross-legged without apparently any interim steps.
Just, quantum collapse.
Yeah.
Instinctively, I stand near where Byrne is sitting, so that if to any, Byrne would look small in this situation. Someone who clearly knows Byrne very well is looming largely nearby.
I do the same
Your leg
thing,
is a chair back.
My leg is a chair back.
I also instinctively move towards where the others are seated, but do not sit down myself.
Yeah. Apatia positions herself awkwardly close to Joseph, and he sort of like glances at her and seemingly unconsciously moves like a couple inches away. It's an interesting chassis that he's got because all of the sensory apparati are like fairly well concealed. You don't have a good sense of like the body language is all of relatively human sort of like, you know, head turning and nodding and glancing and things, but you don't see eyes or audio receptors or anything like that. It's a neat trick.
Can I determine where any of the cameras are based on network things?
On the on Joseph's chassis?
No. In the room.
In the room? That's an interesting question. It won't require a ghosting roll because you're not actually accessing anything. But
I'm being scrupulously polite about not barging into their network.
Yeah, but as an approximation, I'm going to have you roll hacking in terms of like kind of, you know, knowledge and signs.
Yeah. That is a 16.
They don't appear to be near. This is an unsurveilled space, as far as you can tell. I mean,
having determined that, I make sort of a show of checking where I would put them.
No immediate reaction, but yeah, it does seem like the augmentations, androids, and smart devices in the room are the only things that could be doing any surveillance right now. Once everybody has sort of gathered around and Joseph has moved slightly away from Apatia without seeming to realize he's done so, he, you know, sort of picks back up on the conversation. He says, for one, let me just voice my appreciation that you are interested in our humble organization and willing to look past some of the nastier rumors and come here tonight. I don't want to give anybody a false impression. We are always looking for allies, of course. However, if it wasn't one of the rumors you'd heard already, it is true that our membership is really only open to androids and some cyborgs. Which is not to say we won't cooperate, just that, you know, the formalities are, well, specifically oriented towards those of significant inhumanity. You can hear the scare quotes around the word. He says, that said, this is a very interesting part of the station right now. With systems of law enforcement going almost fully automated, it represents some interesting opportunities for enterprising and, well, individuals who are enterprising and more scrupulous than our overseers, shall I say.
Hard.
Indeed not. So, obviously, you know, we are not here to document any supposed wrongdoing, but your presence here in itself is a show of good faith that we absolutely appreciate. And Dev here vouches, you know, for your group. My question, I suppose, is, are you as committed to both android rights and anti-corporate activism as your reputations would suggest? What are you willing to put on the line to build a more just world for artificial life?
As I'm thinking it over, my hand from the work suite arm, which is on my chin, taps twice and then rotates 360 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I intentionally hang back and allow my companions to answer first.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think we agree that all of us are willing to put quite a lot on the line, as long as it's ours. and not other people's. I think there are too many people of any degree of inhumanity, as it were, willing to gamble with quite high stakes as long as it's other people paying up when the bill comes due. Not our style. We're in to make things better in whatever way we can. We're not going to get hurt for abstractions, and we're not going to hurt others on vague instructions. We need something concrete as far as improving this world in great need of improvement.
Further, the use of inhumanity is a useful umbrella term, as it includes more than just those of us who are more, I will sort of nod to Cato, or less, I will raise a flesh-looking hand, visibly mechanical state of being, as there are many other axes along which one's personhood or humanity, to the degree that one feels like those ought to be distinct terms, can be bridged.
We're less interested in membership and more in working together, as you say, because, and I gesture to Byrne, an injustice for one is an injustice for all, and android rights are not the only vector along which that fight gets fought.
What they said.
And during all of this, Joseph is occasionally, giving sort of subtle nods of acknowledgement, if nothing else. Apatia, will chime in and say, for my part, I don't feel that there's such a thing as humanity, really, and would be happy to, help make things more just in whatever constructive or destructive ways occur. I also am interested in learning more, not being an android myself, but knowing a couple. I wish to broaden my understanding. She sort of idly, is running her fingers over the back of her head and neck where her chrome is, and she says, and if it all helps me understand other forms of artificial life, then so much the better.
And does Tom have anything to say before I chime in?
Nope. She looks very nervous, but does not say anything. Bronwy. I forgot in the roll call about Bronwy. She doesn't have much to say, but she does, speak up and say, suppose I haven't done as much as I might have for it, but, I've been on the side of android rights since there was an android rights cause, and I have felt more connected to it since I got here to the station. So the opportunity to do more directly and in cooperation is an appealing one, for what that's worth.
And may I call you Joseph, or would you prefer either Mr. or Mrs. Chepek? What would feel respectful to you?
Well, thank you for asking, but Joseph will do.
Joseph.
Not Joe, I suppose, but that wasn't on your list.
Joseph, there's a reason that I run with this particular crew. They may not have been born or created as we were created, but there are reasons, each of them, that they belong. As for me, my concern on the surface is android rights. That's simple enough, but beyond that, it occurs to me that human beings, meat and blood, they decide and they're in control right now of what is legal and what is illegal, what is allowed and what is permissible and what is not. And that imbalance concerns me. I suspect that our interests may align in more ways than they diverge, whether we are a part of the same organization or not. And we're here tonight just to explore the degree to which our interests might align more closely. And so I'm here to listen. I will wear my heart on my sleeve and put out there that it's not my intention to be used by anyone. I've had my fill of that, and I suspect that you have too.
Joseph nods through your remarks and picks up his lowball glass and like swirls it and then puts it down without having drunk anything from it since you've entered the room. As you finish, and he says, I like your outlook. I do have a question, though. I heard a little bit about it from Dev earlier today, but why the meat hand?
A sacrifice. Like that which was given to Fenrir to corral a dangerous beast. In this case, the beast is discrimination. The beast is a lack of understanding and a tendency to exonerate, out of character. I'm looking for the word to raise above what should be.
Elevate, transcend?
Elevate, yeah. Thank you. Back in. A tendency to elevate flesh and blood as better than any other kind of being. This is not an attempt to be more like humans. I will never be more human, even if I tried, and I have no reason to want to. This is my war cry to humanity, my attempt to deliberately transgress in a way that if they can adopt our form, perhaps we can adopt theirs. Not because it's better. This flesh is weaker. It's less dexterous. It's less durable. But this is my sacrifice to perhaps offend the right people in the right ways and break down those barriers between flesh and machine, not because we're the same, but because we're not less.
He gives us a more decisive nod at the end there, that you do notice that when you use the name Fenrir, his head cocks slightly in a gesture that is fairly common to androids who are looking something up. Doesn't seem like he has foreknowledge of that particular story. But sort of by the end of it, he says, well, it seems like we've got a pretty solid and forthright group here, and I appreciate that. It's hard to come by in this line of work. But I think that regardless of exactly what the relationship ends up being, we'll work well together. I do have another question for you, and I want to say that you don't have to answer right now. You can decide how much information you want to share, however long it takes. But I have some suggestions in the wind that you maybe have encountered the beings known as dreamers, and I would appreciate any information you wanted to share up front about those experiences.
I do not look at Apatia. Not even a sidelong glance.
Apatia, for her part, is looking extremely like somebody who is trying to feign ignorance and doing a terrible job of it. If anybody here has seen Spaceballs, where the illusion of the king is like, would I lie? And looking like at everything but the character he's talking to, that's basically the level of convincing that Apatia is operating at.
You get a message saying, I said we tell them we released over 3. It tells them we no longer have over 3.
Typing surreptitiously arm to arm, It also tells them we had over 3.
And?
Well, wasn't he trying to... Am I alone here? Wouldn't that be telling quite a lot?
They probably
I nudge Burn with my
know.
foot.
If it is communicated to me that Joseph was one of the bidders, which, then the response is, then they probably already know.
You're not wrong. I feel weird doing this without the group agreeing, but I don't know that we have a way to agree. This could just be me thinking to myself, if indeed there's no opportunity for table talk.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I pull out my device and check the text thread because I don't have a heads up display.
Oh, no, this is like point to point.
Well,
to the
and-
nearest
right on,
degree I
yeah.
can.
To be fair, right, he did specifically say
Yeah.
that, like, there's no need to respond right this instant. So if it takes more than 30 seconds for somebody to like
Mhm.
make a unilateral decision, then he'll pick the conversation back up.
Mhm.
Presumably having noted Apatia looking like the world's most suspicious person.
Mhm.
I do at this point look over at Apatia and say, we're definitely interested in a more than academic way, but as far as encounters, as you may know, those can be intense, and I think we'll accept your invitation to think it over.
He nods. Probably the wisest course. Such things are not to be taken lightly, but I do hope to hear from you about it. Any or all of you. He sets his glass back down and sort of straightens up and says, I'm not in a particular hurry this evening. I feel that this has already been productive. We've given each other a lot to think about. What I'd like to do is to share with everybody here sort of my public contact information so that you can get in touch with me individually or as a group, and maybe you can enjoy some of the entertainments, libations, appetizers, and company that are offered downstairs. Gestures at it. The only other door other than the one you came in through says, we'll lead you past the bathrooms and into the main club, and percolate on some things. I do hope we're able to work together long term. The invitation stands. You are welcome allies until and unless you give us some reason not to be. And then he pauses and sort of performs having a thought in a sort of like intentionally not very convincing way, and says, and I suppose, let me know if you have any news on the whereabouts of the detained members of Slag Pie. Not that I think there's any reason you should, but we are interested. They could be assets, and we want to make sure that they're safe.
One does sometimes hear things second, third, fourth hand.
He makes a gesture as though to say, of course.
If we are to be working together, would there be any opportunities for a reciprocal exchange of information?
I feel I can almost guarantee it, but I suppose that I can only guess at what information you'd be interested in at this stage.
I can tell you what I know about when the members of Slag Pie vanished.
May very well be useful.
I'm looking into the death of Canopus Hiryu.
That does seem to get his attention. He says, interesting. You're not the only one. Any particular reason you're looking into it?
Your chair back is shifting somewhat uncomfortably.
There are no chairs.
My leg,
His
my
leg is my chair
Oh,
back.
right. I forgot you sat down on the floor. Sorry. Thank you. Carry on.
I was asked to.
He plays a deep breath sound from somewhere on his chassis as he sort of like nods thoughtfully.
To him, I look, at least I'm trying to
Sure,
look,
yeah.
as if Luke Byrne were aged about 4 years, so like late 20s,
Okay.
and in like clothing appropriate for this club and very specific.
He says,
Looking late 20s, sitting crisscross applesauce.
yeah.
Yeah.
He's a hacker.
That.
Yeah, so that earns you a slow nod, and Joseph says slowly, well, I don't have all of the information that our organization has on Canopus Hiryu, but I do know that inquiries have been made, and I'm sure we could arrive at a mutually beneficial arrangement. An interesting topic of study, shall we say. One that merits some reflection.
And strikes me as possibly germane to other intersecting activities.
Just so.
You get a raised eyebrow, emoticon through purely private channels.
This is retracted.
No, this would be servo silent.
Sure. In the brief pause during which that takes place, Dev random claps her hands together with like a muted clank, and goes, well, I'd be happy to show you around the club. It's a good time on a Friday night if it's your scene, and whose scene wouldn't it be?
Yeah. Joseph, it's been a pleasure. You and I feel, are dreamers of a different sort. If you have things that you dream or wish that would happen, let me know, and I'll do the same.
Certainly, and he extends a hand for you to shake, and fairly specifically, let's see, you replaced your left hand.
I did.
He holds out his right.
Yeah.
Presumably, unless you say otherwise, I assume you shake his hand.
Yeah, I shake it, my left hand looking weirdly limp. I'm not quite sure what to do with it still, and
Sure.
It feels like extremely fragile compared to what I'm used to,
sure.
and it's just, I'm afraid to do anything with it. So it's hanging
also,
weirdly.
like, right hand to right hand is the default handshake. So.
It is. And yet,
It's true. I have no more to say on the subject. Certainly anybody who has anything particular to say or do may do so.
Mostly to sort of retroactively, to the degree that it matters, I am attempting to monitor any or all pings on everyone in our party's devices.
So like specifically like inter-party communication?
Intrusion.
Oh, intrusion. Okay. None.
Cool.
Yeah, none at all. And as, folks, are sort of being shepherded to the door leading into the club, if anybody really doesn't want to go to the club floor, now's the time to let me know. But otherwise, the thing you'll notice is that, Dev is leading the way, and maybe he's bringing up the rear, and both of them will come with you, into the club.
I also shake Joseph's hand if he'll shake. The big one.
If you extend your hand, he will take it. The big one in both of his, and give it 2 firm shakes, and then just give you a genial wave. And as you are leaving, he picks the glass back up and swirls it again. Out
of curiosity, yes. I would extend the Luke Skywalker hand.
He'll give it a brief firm shake, and give you a firm nod. As soon as the door into the club opens, the music becomes like 90 times louder, and is a thumping, irregular bass beat with a profusion of broken hard drive sounds over it, that is equal parts off-putting and sort of catchy. You imagine that at some point in the next day or two, you'll find yourself just sort of like trying to hum along with
server room
core,
as you go about your day. And
I give Byrne the same look I always give them when we encounter a new kind of music, which is, does this do it for you? Do you like music now?
You get a sort of This is a polite look because we're in public. In response.
The space that you are ushered into is large and open. There is sort of like I guess you'd call it like kind of a gallery around three sides. There's a stage towards the front where currently there's just a DJ, sort of like vibing. And there are bars on either side of the main dance floor, one serving alcohol and spirits and the other one handing out like little
Chips.
this world's equivalent of like SD cards, which are sort of like reusable short-term sensory programs that have a mixed reputation in terms of like what their usage might have in the way of effects. Those who sell them, of course, claim that it's just running a program. It's like nothing to even think twice about. And then mostly people who know of them by reputation only are like really weird about them. Of course, there is also the sort of assumption on many people's parts, though they're not thoroughly studied yet, that they affect augmented organic people differently than they affect full androids, which maybe, but there's not a corpus of research on it yet. Otherwise, those of you with appropriately augmented senses will note that in addition to a lot of the nightclub staples of like, colored and strobing and sweeping lights, as well as, music in the human audible spectrum, there are also ultraviolet and sort of like radio and various different sort of like electromagnetic spectrum emanations to try and like engage other senses. This is, if you are someone who can perceive all of this, quite a lot. It's like actually like verging on painful. But it is likely that most of the people of whatever kind who come in don't have like all of this at once, if they don't have like the very most expensive sensor suites. And it is at least relatively possible to temporarily like
turn those off.
Turn the bits that are uncomfortable off.
I probably do take a moment to calibrate because I initially have the very strange sensation of perceiving more in one ear than the other, more in one eye than the other.
Yeah.
So I take a moment to make sure I'm not going to just fall over.
Right. Apatia almost immediately looks kind of like glassy-eyed and a little euphoric. And it's crowded. There are a small number of like mostly flesh and blood people, and a larger number of androids, full body prosthetic cyborgs, and more augmented folks. This is almost certainly immediately apparent to Tama, who doesn't look uncomfortable in the way that somebody looks when they realize they're around minorities they are bigoted against, but rather the kind of uncomfortable that somebody looks realizing that they have attended something they thought was one thing and is actually a support group for a thing that they do not actually experience. She's just looking very out of place, but trying to sort of roll with the punches all the same.
I also look very uncomfortable, not because of the crowd, but because this is the antithesis of my scene.
Indeed. Dev turns around and just kind of like gestures above her head to like take it all in, enjoy it, and then very quickly sort of like walks over to check on operations. Mebby just sort of like hangs to one side, seeming to observe, your group with a moderate degree of companionable interest. And, everybody can kind of do what they want, as much or as little. We don't have to spend more time on it than you wish to, but if you've got something specific in mind, now's the time to bring it up.
We can keep it relatively abstract, but I certainly talked to some of the full body prosthetic having androids, essentially talking shop. comparing notes and doing that sort of like looking at each other's bodies in a way that is probably less creepy than it would be in another context because it's the zeal of a convert, as it were.
Yeah. I mean, like you, a lot of the folks who are like full body prosthetics in that you managed to run into here are fairly custom jobs and pretty enthusiastic about the conversation. You know, it's not particularly revelatory, but certainly enjoyable, and you maybe gather a little bit of contact information too, just in case.
I keep an eye on Burn to make sure they're not in hell. But in between,
I am not going to be the cause of anyone leaving early, but I do basically immediately ping you with, "Oh my God, it's so loud."
The message you get back after you see me finish dancing with someone and moving my body in the weirdest ways I am able to is, yes.
I do my best to keep a foot in the human world and, the discomfort of some of my companions, but despite myself, I think I'm kind of drawn off into the world of androids that I'm so rarely completely immersed in. I'm part of the movement. I spend some time with androids, but it's a rare treat to be in the majority.
If
Overall,
you ever look in my...
Go ahead.
If you ever look in my direction... I kind of nod at you and then jerk my chin in the direction of the festivities.
Who is the you here?
Yeah.
Ing.
Cool.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
For my part, I drift away from anyone who is off to, like, indulge in something that I am not particularly interested in, which is like 90% of the things going on here. So I am sort of assigning myself custody to whoever is having downtime, and failing that, maybe. And if she says anything interesting or starts up any conversation, I would be fascinated to hear, but we needn't do that if you don't want to.
Sure. I feel like probably you have fairly constant company in Cal and Tama, as well as maybe hanging off to one side. And maybe, will respond to anything somebody wants to say to her, but does seem to otherwise be content to observe and vibe. Apatia basically vanishes into the dance floor the minute you're, in the main space, and unless somebody stays till closing, they probably won't see her again. Bromley, on the other hand, goes sort of alongside Tama to the liquid bar, and Tama comes back and stands by Cal and Mebby to drink. Bromley stays at the bar and sort of briefly chats with some people here and there.
Actually, I ask Mebby how impolitic it would be to have a look at a sample of something from the chip bar.
As I mentioned before, Mebby has sort of like a blank faceplate,
right?
But she does sort of pantomime thoughtfulness with like sort of like stroking the chin of her faceplate a little bit and says, "Certainly no more impolitic than some of the things going on the dance floor right now. You might get some strange looks, but, you pay for what you get, so it's yours to do with what you will."
At the moment Mebby mentions things happening on the dance floor that are impolitic, I am upside down. I am pushing myself from the floor with a large arm.
There is a small circle around you, about 50% enthusiastic onlookers and about 50% mystified onlookers.
You get a ping that essentially that tells you in about a minute and a half you will get the actual message. Just, because I know your attention is occupied. The minute and a half later, or actually when you are no longer so intensely dancing, is Mebby said you're impolitic. Do I know? Is there any? Would acquiring one of the chips for later scrutiny, such as it were, require the expenditure of actual cash, or is that just sort of...
It would be 1 cash. It is
Okay, I
significantly
don't
more
have any
expensive
cash,
than
so,
liquor.
you know.
Fair enough. At least you know where to get one when you have some cash.
Yeah.
This wasn't a mission, right? So I don't have any cash to spot
Right.
you either.
Yeah, no, you guys have not
Okay.
selected a mission yet.
Cool.
Do you raise that interest in my direction?
You would have heard me ask, maybe.
Yeah, presumably you would have been pretty nearby for that.
I slide you 1 cash.
Hey, Cal's giving me an allowance.
Mhm.
I do not say that in
Sure.
I sure to hell hope you don't. That's a good way to lose.
Cal's
it.
paying for my drugs. Yeah,
To celebrate not being a cop anymore.
right. With my borrowed $1 cash, I do in fact go and purchase a chip.
Yeah. When you get up to the chip bar, and there are like,
I'm continuing to try to be as many people to as many sensory suites as I can be.
Sure, yeah. There are screens behind the bar that are listing off. It's like remarkably similar to like listed varieties of cannabis. And that the names are all dopey and inscrutable. And some are more expensive than others, but the tier that you can afford with the cash that Cal gave you is just like there's nothing specific that is distinguishing one from another without like a conversation with the servers. So unless you want to dive into it, we can say you should pick one.
Yeah, I'll pick one at random.
I wonder if this would be a reference that Burn in character would get, but you ask for a tangerine dream. And are
absolutely handed. Burn would not.
Okay, I figured that might have been the case. But you are very expediently with very minimal interaction slid the Hardwired Island Universe's version of like an SD card in a little plastic case, and given sort of like a little like a thumbs up from the server, who then bustles off to fulfill another order. And yeah, now you have one of these little...
I pocket my tangerine dream and go back to hang out with Cal.
Sure. Eventually in the evening, there are a couple of performers. The performance by Iconogasm for tonight it turns out to be sort of like a one android show that doesn't really map on easily to any one thing. They come out and they play a variety of instruments while seemingly improvising songs about individual people in the audience that are quite lascivious, and then make some quite lewd gestures and noises to raucous laughter and applause. The joke seeming to be that organic life forms are weird. And
not wrong.
Then they do a pretty impressive sort of like holographic juggling act, not so much in terms of the manual dexterity, but in the quality of the effects. And then the finale is stripping all of the clothes off of their almost featureless android frame, and then doing cartwheels off stage. It is certainly an experience and seems to go over really well with most of the club goers. And after that, it's not like a stampede for the entrance, but that's about the point where like the crowd starts to thin slowly towards closing later in the evening. And at whatever time you decide to leave, you can exit as well. my presumption is that at this point, it's been a long couple of days, and probably most people, especially those who were awakened earlier than their usual, will be interested in falling into bed. But if there is anything you wish to accomplish before that, now's the time to speak up.
No.
All right.
I just imagined that my eyelids started getting heavy despite the environment at some point.
Just prop you up with a pair of toothpicks.
Tama is a little less like nodding off, but visibly sort of like done with the day by the time like you kind of both look at each other like wordlessly, just like time to head out.
Mhm.
And so, those who wish to, certainly, I mean, those who live at the frontispiece will go back to the frontispiece. Those who don't live at the frontispiece presumably can go back there either temporarily or for the night, but, can also go back to the places where they live, which is what Bronwyn does. Apatia, there's no sign of. She seems to want to close out the club, and it won't be her first or last time doing so somewhere.
More power to her.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Tama will peel off to go back to wherever it is that she lives. Seems not to be in Selden District, but not too far away.
Just as Tama peels off from the group, I say, "Hey, you got invited to the cookout."
She chuckles and she says, "One way to look at it, I guess I hope I don't offend any sensibilities, but glad to be learning so much, I guess." Anyway, I'm gonna go sleep on it and drop me a line.
Sleep on it well.
Thanks for hanging, Tama. For what it's worth, that's how I usually feel.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me. See y'all later. And she ambles off. Close observers will note that she does more ambling and swaggering the more tired she gets.
Mhm.
I guess, yeah.
And Cal, back to our place. If you were me and there was as much that happened recently as has happened, would you go back to our place?
I can't imagine a reason not to at this juncture. I think we cleaned up our trail pretty effectively.
All right. Sleep with then.
Our place is always available if anything feels askance, and Plan D is in progress.
All right. Appreciate it. Tomorrow. Let's get together.
Tomorrow.
In the afternoon.
And so everybody heads back to their chosen places of rest, and quickly or slowly drops off to sleep, rest cycles, maintenance modes, because like I said, it's been kind of a hell of a couple of days, and it is fairly late, especially for those who got up a little earlier. And I think that whatever intentions I had at the beginning of this episode, time marching ever forward, this will be a pretty good place to end this session of Dice Punks. I will say for our listeners and our players that we should expect to start next time by sort of registering our sort of plans in the medium term. There's nothing, no secret bomb under the frontispiece or something waiting for us at the very beginning of next time. So be thinking between now and then about, what you'll get up to given a little bit of time that you can structure yourself. And we'll try to jump right in with that next time. And that concludes this session of Dice Punks. Thank you for joining us. I hope our players and listeners enjoyed it as much as I did, and that you'll all join us again next time. If you're hearing us now, then you probably know where to listen to this, but we can be found almost any place one can listen to podcasts, as well as on the wider web at dicepunks.com, and on Tumblr and Blue Sky is at Dicepunks. With that, I think we're ready to say farewell, so say goodbye to the kind folks back on Earth, players.
Thanks as always for listening. Dance like no one's human.
Thank you for listening, everyone. Being a wallflower is the most fun when you're part of a bouquet.
Oh, it's really fun. I like that.
Thanks for listening, folks, and remember, buy your drugs with other people's money.
Thank you. Thank you so much for listening, listeners. And since the session is drawn to a close, it's time for our swan song.
This is my jam.
Okay, Burn. Is that it? Do you like music now?
No.
Damn it.
And speaking of songs, as the poet once said, I should probably not. I should probably not. Seeing you tonight, it's a bad idea, right? Beloved listeners, thank you for tuning in. Stick around through the admin stuff for an invocation. The music in this episode, Augment or Die, is by Emerson, Boatwright, and our very own bookmonger, Drew. Check out their other work at the link in the show notes. Editing on our rad new cover art was done by Joanne, who's appeared on the podcast now and again. Check out her work around the internet where she goes by Anything Says. Site design and graphics for dicepunks.com or by the one and only Cal Armitage, Robin. Hardwired Island is by Paul Macevic, Freya Erlingsdottir, and Minerva Jonda. You can find Hardwired Island at etten.itch.io/hardwired island. Links to the system and authors can be found on the Punk Grimoire section of our website, dicepunks.com. Thank you so much for listening. If you liked what you heard, that's reward enough on its own. But if you're so inclined, you can help us out by rating and reviewing us wherever you listen to us, telling your friends who you think would like us to give us a listen, and even by heading over to our Patreon at patreon.com/dicepunks. We have fun rewards available to backers, including a patron-only Discord and access to the Dice Peaks After Show for episodes 1.1 and following. Regardless, we hope you'll tune in again, and until then, remember, subtlety is for cowards.
I would like to report an anomaly. The report begins. During my last mission, I ran out of ammunition. This presented an opportunity to think creatively and explore novel tactics, so I immediately applied the heated gun barrel to melt exposed and delicate flesh, but it cooled too quickly to remain a useful weapon. Next, I used the body of a mortally wounded target as a bludgeon for those that still remained. A bit whimsical, I'll admit, but the outcome of the battle was a foregone conclusion at that point, and experimentation does bring perfection. In any case, the responses of those nearby were tactically confusing. Some ran, which had a low probability of success, but it was at least a comprehensible strategy. Here's the strange part, though. 2 of the nearest targets stopped firing at me while my new bludgeon was interposed between us. That's what confuses me, Tren. Human bodies are not effective shields against small arms fire. Why didn't they simply shoot through their ally when he was clearly mortally wounded? I feel like if I could just understand human beings' anomalous reactions, I could learn to fulfill my purpose more fully. End of report. Another thing, though, I've noticed that you and the other officers salute each other according to rank, but I have not been designated a rank, so I don't know whether I should salute you or be saluted by you. Could you clarify what my rank in the military is?
Objects don't have a rank.
Oh. I see. Thank you for clarifying. I'll analyze my last mission and await further upgrades then.
Hello and welcome.